JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a goddamn masterpiece. Now that statement alone would cause either two of the following emotions. One is pure bliss and an overwhelming want to become jacked beyond human proportions and strike some questionable poses. This emotion is felt from my fellow JoJo-loving brothers. And to you?
I love you.
The other emotion is being an angry little bald man that exclusively watches isekai. And to you smelly freaks?
Get out of my sight.
I've said this about One Piece and I'll say it again. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is an experience that you'll get from no other show. Every character is memorable with their own personalities. Each part takes place in a new setting, different from the last. There's great fight scenes, unique humor, and don't even get me started on how amazing some of the stands are.
Let's kill the whole beat!
Before I started watching JoJo's, I was a small runt, just like you. I originally never wanted to get into it due to the different art style, and my general thought of what the show was. Puny little me thought that JoJo's was just some gay vampires and jack dudes. But it's so much more than that. Each individual part exposed a new protagonist bearing the JoJo family name, all having the same star birthmark. We get to see the power level evolve from energy attacks called Hamon to these insane psycho-spiritual manifestations with unique supernatural abilities called stands. A huge reason why me and so many others love this anime is the world and community that has been built around JoJo's. The beautiful color swaps in the anime and the characters designed by Araki are recognizable almost anywhere, and tons of cultural references from the real world can be seen throughout the show. There are 8 parts that are finished in the manga, with a 9th one on the way. Only 6 of these parts have been fully animated, and as of right now, I'm an only anime watcher of JoJo's, so I can only talk about the 6 parts that I have seen so far. But when I tell you them shits are peak, I know some people watching are skeptical and don't believe it. Today, I have with me a Harvard graduate that got their master's in animeology to prove this true.
Yeah, that shit's peak.
And there you have it. Now that you know I'm not lying, it's time to go over each of the 6 animated parts and go more in depth on what makes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure such a truly special and unique experience. A location for part 1 is set back in the 19th century England, and we follow our first beloved JoJo, Jonathan Joestar. Jonathan is the white knight of the Joestars and your everyday man's man. He fights for his woman, plays rugby, and hates the Twilight series. To me, Jonathan doesn't have too much of an eccentric personality like the other Joestars, but he is the foundation of the family and the one who started it all. The other 5 parts of the anime, we all follow the events that take place in Phantom Blood, and the generational conflict stems from the rivalry between Jonathan Joestar and his newly adopted brother, Dio Brando. Dio is the main antagonist of the series at times and is off-rip a piece of shit. He's a psychopath, sociopath, and lacks empathy for any person other than himself. This man purposely knees Jonathan's dog Danny in the face and later on literally places him into a furnace and melts his ass alive. Rest in peace, my young king. Him committing these devilish activities takes place a lot throughout part 1, and the reason for that is the Joestars are quite wealthy. After being adopted by them, he sees this as an opportunity to jump in and become heir to the Joestar family. Dio begins his attempts to take over, and this ultimately leads to the rivalry between him and the Joestar family for years to come. In this part, we are also introduced to our first Jo Bros. Now for those who haven't watched, Jo Bros are the main characters' friends that they make along the way and help them on their path. Our main Jo Bros for part 1 is the important creator of the Speedwagon Foundation, Robert E.O. Speedwagon, and Jonathan's mentor of Hamon, Will Antonio Zebelli. All these characters shine throughout the story and are the founding Jo Bros that started it all. They created the trend of having a group of friends accompany our main Joestars and are now a huge staple in the show. After Dio's attempts are shut down by old Johnny Boy, he resorts to using an ancient stone mask to turn into a vampire. Jonathan and Dio eventually have a final standoff where Dio gets turned into nothing but a head, and Jonathan thinks he has defeated him. Now we're on a boat full of TNT and coffins. Miraculously, Dio survives in the craziest way imaginable, while Jonathan isn't as fortunate. His girl lives by escaping inside one of these titanium bomb-resistant coffins, holding onto their child and continuing the Joestar name. The music in Phantom's Blood has a very cathedral and poetic theme. Every song is filled with beautiful orchestras, and you really feel the pianos and violins all working together. It fits perfect for the old England setting, and the songs are very unique compared to the later songs throughout the series. Now is where I'll get a little vulnerable and reveal a secret about myself. My god, did I think this part was boring when I first watched it. I was a freshman in college, riddled with acne, and my friend kept telling me to get in on some sweet JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Just the name alone made me question the show, and once seeing the first episode, I did not think it would be for me. Now in all honesty, was young me being a little bit of a bitch? Yeah, for sure. Shit was only damn 9 episodes, just shut up and watch it. As I watched more of the parts and became a JoJo fan, part 1 has started to grow on me. It's the origin story for this entire world and the journey we explore, and none of the future Joestars or their stories would exist without it. We are now in New York, baby, following along Jonathan's grandson, Joseph Joestar. Joseph is a breath of fresh air, and from the start, he made me excited to watch JoJo's again. He's hot-headed, playful, and always doing everything in style. We also get to see the JoJo's build more character, with having Joseph being able to predict what people say, and also hilariously running away from battles. The story revolves around the waking of the Pillar Men. powerful humanoids whose race created the stone mask used by Dio. The first to be awakened is a pillar man named Santana, who displays superhuman abilities and wipes the researchers that have resurrected him. After Joseph defeats him, he learns that there are 3 more sleeping pillar men in Rome, where he will meet the goat of part 2. That man is Caesar Zappelli, the grandson of Will Zappelli and Speedwagon's contact. We get to watch their intense training of Hamon with mentor Lisa as they prepare for the battle with the godly pillarmen. We aren't using stands just yet, but Joseph uses these sick-ass clackers, which is such a cool and unique weapon choice. Dude could have used any weapon but picks a string with 2 balls attached to it. The final arc of this battle is the battle against Wamu, AC/DC, and their leader Cars. Caesar has one of the most iconic scenes in the series when facing against Wamu and gives Joseph the energy to keep going. Once the other 2 pillarmen are defeated, we then have the final battle of Joseph versus the ultimate one, Cars, now with the ability to transform into any life form. This ending fight is what makes JoJo so bizarre. From being sent to space to erupting a volcano using a stone, this sets the tone for future parts and the reality that anything can happen in this amazing series. Part 2 is easily up there for one of the more enjoyable parts. The amazing music consisting of guitars and flutes, the beautiful color and art of each scene, and the all-around feel of the part is such a huge step up from part 1 and ends in a beautiful way, leading right into part 3. Which is a huge step into a pile of dogs. Here we go, baby, part 3. I started this part excited to finally see stands and to meet the edgelord himself, Jotaro Kujo. He's exactly how I thought he would be. He's very quiet and doesn't have much of a personality other than talk shit, get hit. It is first thought that Jotaro stand was an evil spirit, but then revealed by now older Joseph and his friend Mohammed Abdal that it is actually a manifestation of his fighting spirit. Abdal is a mature and righteous man, providing knowledge and guidance about enemy stand users, and because he's from Egypt, he helps them learn the local culture along the way. His stand is Magician's Red, which is pretty much just a ripped Blaziken. It's also explained that Stan suddenly appeared because of Joseph's grandfather's nemesis, Dio. Going from only using Hamon in part 2, Joseph now also gets a stand. One of the most insane and overpowered stands of the entire series, Hermit's Purple. I'm just kidding, this shit's fucking ass, but pretty useful that it can materialize any type of information, such as an image or location or even dots. And then we get the Jojo stand, Star Platinum. It's pretty much One Punch Man with a wig, possessing overwhelming physical prowess and every basic characteristic. This is also where the yelling of comes from, while he throws multiple punches that has the power of bare 50 cal bullets. Now we get into the main plot. Dio is assembling a group of fellow stand users to kill off the rest of the remaining Joestar family. So our boys Jojo, Joseph, and Abdal set off on a grand adventure to and through Egypt to find and take care of Dio Brando once and for all. Along the way, 2 assassins controlled by Dio attack the group, one being Noriaki Kakouin and the other being Jean-Pierre Polnareff. Kakouin is a righteous and blunt individual, possessing the stand Hierophant Green, which he basically just spams Emerald Splash constantly. And Polnareff is a lovable Frenchman that is full of pride and honor, possessing the stand Silver Chariot. They both get defeated and join the group on their travels, creating the full group of the Stardust Crusaders. Oh wait, who's that? You can't forget about the GOAT Iggy himself. Though he's a bit of a weird looking dog, he's a character that does a lot for the group and has some amazing scenes. Now let's talk about the actual meat itself. Stardust Crusaders starts off strong, introducing stands and a great new cast of lovable characters. But as the story goes on, you start to realize how drawn out this part is, and it becomes very episodic. We get the Stand of the Week syndrome, where every episode is a new villain with a new stand, and you're just waiting for them to be dealt with. One of the stands is a little fucking orangutan named Forever, and his stand is the entire fucking boat they're on. Less than half of the stands are actually entertaining to watch. The name of the villain stands are pretty cool, being named after tarot cards and Egyptian deities. The first 2 parts combined are a total of 26 episodes, while the entirety of part 3 is a damn whopping 48. The story is well written when it actually progresses and has a great cast of characters, but it kind of gets bogged down by having too many stand users appear and dragging on the journey through Egypt way too long. The music in part 3 is expansive with some hip-hop feeling music, but also some songs that are perfect for the setting of Egypt. We also get the iconic Stardust Crusader Jotaro theme that plays whenever the tides are turning, and you know you're getting ready to see Jotaro win the fight. Once we finally do reach Cairo and enter into Dio's mansion, the story starts to ramp up and you're excited to see the duel between Joestar and Brando once again. The last fight between Jotaro and Dio is one of the biggest highlights in all of JoJo's. We get the clash of Star Platinum versus the world that seems like an impossible chance to win. But of course it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Jotaro surpasses all limits and begins to evolve his power throughout the fight, ultimately breaking the world and defeating Dio. This is a fight that will never be forgotten and just shows how truly powerful stands can become. At the end, we are met with the sad goodbyes of the group before going their separate ways. This part right here is what made my interest in JoJo's go from just casually enjoying the show to absolutely falling in love with it. In my opinion, I think Diamond is Unbreakable is a perfect 10 out of 10 part, such a big change in what JoJo's is now, compared to his predecessors. But don't get me wrong, the other 3 parts are still great, but part 4 and 5 for me are on a different level and my good old bread and butter. We start off in Morio, a fictional Japanese town where lives our main character, Josuke. At first, he seems like a hate-filled delinquent, but soon you find out that he's actually one of the most kind and empathetic of the other Joestars. Josuke eventually ends up crossing paths with a fellow student, Koichi, my personal favorite Jobro from the entire series, and another villain-turned-ally, the dumb but hilarious Okuyasu. We are also now accompanied by turned milkman Jotaro. His outfit is like too fire, and old man Joseph on his last breath. Part 4's first half feels like a bit like a slice of life, but of course with its JoJo charm. We get to see the characters interact and live their daily lives while also dealing with a bit of an arrow problem. Some people see this as a negative and feels that it starts off kind of slow, but I personally love it. This change of pace going from this constant fighting in this bland-ass desert to this beautiful town that just feels like a breath of fresh air. The entire town of Morio is just full of color and is so unique from anything we've seen before. You can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the characters interacting before we get into the main villain and plot point of this arc. Now, for the second part of this show is when things start heating up. Yoshikage Kira is a handsome office worker who lives a peaceful, quiet life in Morio, but is secretly a murderer. This man is also on his demon time and is really obsessed with girls' hands and cutting them off. The entire story of Kira and watching how he goes throughout his life is so entertaining. We get this new psychological villain who's extremely powerful and has some cool-ass transformations seen throughout the show. His stand, Killer Queen, is just one of his stands we get to see, which helps him get away with the crimes he commits, and in my opinion, is one of the best designs in the series. We also meet more great characters like Invisible Baby, Ghost Girl, and the author even puts himself into the story as Rohan, a mangaka. Most stand users they encounter are enjoyable to watch, the main cast are all fantastic, and the damn music is so good! We get some groovy songs that really fit the Morio vibe, and tons of songs from the OST gives this dark and daunting feel. The later half of this part is all about the hunt for Kira and eventually having a final battle against him. His constant evolving with the new stands are always a hurdle that our main characters have to deal with, and makes it harder to defeat him compared to any other normal stand user. Diamond Is Unbreakable is truly the peak of anime, and I can't express enough about how much this part means to me. The arc that made me truly fall in love with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The glazing for JoJo's does not stop there. Golden Wind is just another work of art that is above the rest. We are now set in Naples, Italy, in which our main character is now Giovanna. He possesses the stand Gold experience, which allows him to transform inanimate objects into living creatures. Gino has a very sad and twisted childhood, but is changed when he befriends an injured gangster part of the Italian mafia. He gains confidence from this, and he grows to have a strong resolve throughout the show. We follow along and watch him as he tackles his goal of overtaking Passion, the Italian mafia gang that he now works under. After Gino deals with Leaky Eye Luca, he is met with one of the best characters in all of JoJo's, Bruno Bucciarati. He first attacks Gino, but once defeated, learns that Gino has the same distaste for the gang Passion, and agrees to help him complete his goal. We then meet Team Bucciarati, a bunch of ragtag gang members consisting of Narantia, Mista, Abbacchio, and Fugo. Narantia is a young-looking teen that is bad-tempered, shit at math, and loves airplanes. Mista is one of my favorites of this part, a laid-back guy that just enjoys his food and pretty girls. His stand is also up there for one of my favorites in the series, being Sex Pistols. Just look at these little guys go. Abbacchio is an ex-cop and a devoted member to the gang, with pure intentions of keeping the streets safe. And last is Fugo, a very caring person to the group, but is serious and is afraid of danger. Bruno explains to Gino that if they wish to become closer to boss, they require a higher rank. We get to see a fat dude named Popo shoot himself in the mouth with a banana, and then our gang gets enough money to become an operative in the Passion. Because Popo is defeated, his old order from the boss of protecting his daughter, Trish Una, is now placed under Team Bucciarati. We eventually get the reason as to why Bruno is forced to join Passion as a child, and our team sets their journey onto finding the leader. During this journey, we also get the torture dance scene that comes out of nowhere, and we never see anything like this again. We eventually reach the leader, named Diavolo, possessing the stand King Crimson. After the truth of what was really happening with Bruno is revealed, Giorno gains a newfound resolve and surpasses his former stand. We now get the most broken stand in the entire series, Gold Experience Requiem, an evolved and updated stand of Giorno's former stand, Gold Experience. He defeats Diavolo in the most terrifying way possible, and the part closes with Giorno having become the new boss of Passion. Part 5 is one of my favorites because it goes from just your normal gang in Italy to a group of friends with the goal of overtaking the mafia to better Italy. All their personalities clash in a good way, and we watch them grow with each other to the very end. The atmosphere of Naples is so different and feels refreshing, seeing the beautiful town get explored over time. We get this very atmospheric music that fits perfectly with the setting, and every soundtrack that plays gets you the exact emotion they want you to feel. Golden Wind has this beautiful uniqueness that makes it stand out from the rest, and I loved almost every part of it. The final part that has been animated is Stone Ocean, where we follow Jolene Cujo. We are back in the United States, baby, in my homeland of good old Florida. We watch as Jolene is sent to Green Dolphin Prison after being falsely accused of murder. She is then informed that someone at this prison is a descendant of Dio and trying to murder her. There's tons of Jojos in this part. First we have Hermes, her first friend she makes that possesses the stand Kiss, which is always interesting to watch and see how she solves problems with it. Next is this little ass baseball boy named Emporio. I also thought I was tripping with Jolene, thinking how the hell is this little guy in the prison just jumping through walls, not getting caught. But you go to appreciate him, and for those that know, he's the king of part 6. Then we have Inasui, who looks exactly like Diavolo and has a bit of a crush on our main Joestar. He's very blunt and doesn't really care for anyone else but Jolene, but his stand Diver Down is clean. Next is probably the coolest character in part 6, and that is Weather Report. We first meet him deprived of his memories, being very mellow and caring for his friends, but after learning of his past and when he regains his memories, he unlocks his full power and just shows how truly strong he is. And not to mention he's the damn drippiest character. Just look at that little hat he has. Last we have FF, a girl made of damn plankton. The main goal of Stone Ocean is to hunt down prison chaplain Father Enrico Pucci, who seeks the creation of a new universe shaped to his and Dio's will. We get to see Jojo's sexy ass once again in maybe the cleanest outfit yet, and he plays another pretty big role. We get to see a bit more emotion out of him rather than before, where he just has the personality of a brick wall. This part started off really exciting and entertaining with tons of interesting stands that were fun to watch. But as we got more through the plot, it kind of slowed down and just didn't excite me too much. Like, we got this old raisin with a compass. That is until we get to the climax of Stone Ocean, where we get to see Poochie in action. The ending is just mwah, chef's kiss. I knew it was going to happen, but the way it was done in the anime made perfect sense and was written so well. It got me excited to see the future parts and see where the story goes on from here. As a diehard JoJo fan now, the credit scene in this part literally made me and my boy tear up just listening to that roundabout. JoJo's will forever be something special to me and the community surrounding it. The series is like no other and has this unique style that I don't think can ever be replicated. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk about JoJo's. I hope I didn't bore you too much if you made it this far. I honestly just wanted to make a video on a series that I'm so fond of, so yeah. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you in the next one.